Welcome back to The Long Way Back. I'm Timmy Along, your host this evening, with Georgie Cooney as co-host. And today we have a special guest, Dr. Richard Hogan, who's a columnist for the, let's get this right now, Richard.
Irish Examiner.
Irish Examiner.
Don't call it the Cork Examiner.
No, that's why I had to have a look. He's also a psychotherapist, and you do a lot of other things as well, which we're going to get into now. So you just wanted to give a little bit of detail where you're from.
Yeah.
I know you're from Cork.
I'm a Cork boy, Timmy.
Yeah, and a little background on yourself, please.
Sure, yeah. I'm from Douglas in Cork. That's where I grew up there. I went to UCC, trained, I studied English and history. So I started off my career as a teacher, studying English and history, and I worked, I did my dip in Christ King there on the Douglas Road, and then I went to Dublin. And I retrained then in my early 30s as a family psychotherapist. I was just working with students and teenagers, and I was always interested in the student that was in trouble, the student that was difficult, the student that was perceived as outside. That was always where my interest lay, you know. And that comes from my own childhood, because I grew up in a family where it was perceived to be very good, because my dad was a columnist for the Irish Times. He was the Munster correspondent for the Irish Times. So he had a big job. He worked at RTE and all that kind of stuff. And so he had a big job, and it was assumed everything was going great. But unfortunately, he struggled with addiction, like a lot of parents, you know. And so I grew up as a kid, as many kids did, as the kid of an alcoholic father. And that was a tough place to be. And so I was always kind of like interested in, it was a very complicated dynamic, because there was a lot of love in there. My mum was very supportive and loving, and my grandmother lived with us, so there was lots of fun and lots of love. My dad was a great fun guy as well, and then there was that other part of it that was chaotic and dysfunctional and all that. So that was kind of problematic to figure out your head. I often think if it was just all terrible, it might have been easier in some ways, because it was like good and then it was terrible and then it was good and it was terrible.
Mixed emotions.
It was just constant like shifting of the plates under your feet kind of thing, you know. And then I'd retrained, and I just did psychotherapy. I just loved it. Just blew my head off, understanding problems and understanding how to pick problems, and it just suited me, because I was always into it. I think I was always a family therapist, to be honest. Even when I was like 10 or 12, I'd be interviewing my grandmother about her childhood. Growing up in Cork, I used to set the cameras and I'd interview her, and I've got all those tapes now. It's amazing. And she'd be telling me about all the old-fashioned songs. She was born in 1912. She'd tell me all about the traditions of trashing and the lads, and then the show bands, and Mick Delahunty. I'd hear all these names as a kid: Mick Delahunty and the show band and the Hunt Ball. I'd have all this shit going around my head as like a 12-year-old, but I loved it, because I'd love those moments. And she'd tell me about her life, where her life changed just in a moment, you know. I'd always analyze that decision. She remembered her telling me that she was going to go to this dance. She had a migraine. She didn't want to go, and her friends would come up and flick a coin, and heads you go, tails you don't go. Heads came up. She met my grandfather. I mean, in that moment, if it was tails, I disappeared like the...
It was not.
I was gone. You know what I mean? And that just little flick, I love all that kind of stuff about...
It's powerful stuff, though.
Life and understanding those kind of things. And so that's it. And then I did a PhD then in all of this. I kind of merged all this stuff, and I was designing programs for about inclusion. Inclusion is my passion, working inclusion, because I think we're miles away from it.
Absolutely.
I think a huge problem is inclusion, you know. I think we're great at flying a flag, and we're great at talking that kind of stuff, but really, as I see it, kids coming out of poverty, kids coming up in the flats, you never hear about their story. You never hear about celebrating their journey, or parents who are cognitively impaired, parents who are caught in addiction, children growing up with parents who are in addiction. You never hear anything about how do we get those in. I mean, Trinity does have a good access program and all that stuff. We just need way more of that. You know, we need
totally agree.
We need to think way more about children growing up in poverty, because if you don't see it, you can't fucking be it. And I grew up in a middle class background. It was always kind of going to be education, and college was always on the cards. It was never something that I wasn't going to be on the cards for me. I had 2 brothers ahead of me who went to college, so even when I struggled myself and got caught in a few bad behaviors, let's say, I was always college. There was always that kind of thing there, you know. It was always there. But if that's not part of your growing up experience, you're never going to get there unless there's some really good programs.
And that's so true, because where I came from, you're working towards getting a job on a building site. We were never working towards going to college, and you were lucky to get a job on a building site. You know, there's a lot of people don't even get that opportunity, and they're kind of stuck in that rut of just being on the social welfare.
Absolutely.
You know, and sometimes that mightn't even be their fault, because they mightn't have the mental ability to be able to they go and get a job and keep and sustain it, because there might be issues around poverty, addiction, mental health. There's so many different things. But as a society, I think with that stuff, then we tend to look at the person and blame the person instead of the society. You know,
exactly. We don't say the structures are wrong here.
You know,
we say the person should be able to manage those structures.
And that one of the main emphases around this podcast, what we do and what I've always done, and it's my biggest motivation for what I do today, is just to break that stigma.
Yeah.
Change people's minds around people that are living on the streets and looking at them as sponges off society and off our government and all these things. You have to understand the meaning behind somebody's being. You have to understand why they're in this hole that they're in.
I couldn't agree with you more. All behaviour is communication, right? And so someone stuck in addiction, that's a behaviour that's communicating something. If you see it, if you don't, you just look at the addiction. But if you're actually, you know, more insightful, you look beyond that and you see, well, what's actually after happening here? What sort of a society have we created? You don't, you know, I work in schools a lot and they might say, oh, that kid's very sneaky. And I would say, it's such a linear thing to say about a child, you know what I mean? It's such a narrow thing to say. I was like, what do you think about that kid's environment where he developed that behaviour to survive? Maybe it's an adaptive thing to a very difficult environment, you know, and so
that's the answer.
It's more
that is the real answer.
It is the answer, but it's much more complicated to think that. It's much more easier to say that kid's lazy. Or, you know, when I grew up in the 80s and I had dyslexia, and I still have it, by the way. You don't lose it.
Unfortunately,
I enjoy it. I have to say, I'm a writer.
It's freaking
hell. It's given me so many ideas. And
were you the only dyslexic in your family?
Yeah.
Right. Okay,
and my brother, 2 years up, unfortunately, was brilliant.
Was he?
Yeah.
I mean, he was like genius level of school, like, you know,
like academia.
So good at academia. And so when I came into secondary school, all the teachers were like, oh, you're his brother. And then about a month later, they're like, you're his brother. You know, they couldn't.
I got a little bit of that, I have to say.
I can't say the same in my family because the three of us me and my own brothers, it was education was the same for us all. Even myself. It was the same. We struggled. I spent most of the time being disruptive because I wasn't able to cope in the classroom. And by being disruptive, I always knew that I'd be sent up to the assembly to write lines or up to the principal's office to sit outside. Exactly. Because that was easier for me.
I always say that it's much easier to be disruptive than stupid.
Do you know what I mean?
You know what I mean? Because when you're a kid, if they'll label you as stupid or disruptive, I can handle disruptive. That's actually got a bit of something cool about it. You know, hey, man's fucking wild or he's crazy. But stupid, no thank you.
No, stupid was a different one. Like, I loved sitting at the back. I loved when I was left to sit at the back of the class and just to stare out the window and just daydream. But there was a lot of stuff going on for me at home, and that just goes back to what we were speaking about 2 minutes ago. Like, nobody knows what's going on at home for a child. And in my family household, it was so difficult because I didn't know whether I was going home to my mother in a stable place or an unstable place, or whether she didn't matter. I'd go home some days and my mother would be rocking up and down the chair, you know, rocking up and down with a big jacket over her like that. No food in the house. No, this is no reflection of my mother. This is just a situation. My mother was a lady. She done the best she could for me and my brothers. Really. And it took me a long time to understand that, you know, because there was a lot of anger as well around the whole lot of it because I didn't understand what was happening to me as a child.
But, I mean, it's so complicated.
Yeah, why would you? Yeah.
And you'd internalise and think maybe it's something to do with you, or you know, you do all those things.
And that's how we do internalise it. Like I had these beliefs that I was bad and I was no good because of the things that were happening to me in my life, you know, because in relation to the adults in my life. And I continued that belief system, you know, that core belief, the whole length of my life in my addiction days. And even when I did stop drinking alcohol and drugs, I was left with all this mad stuff coming up and whatever. I still had that belief that I was bad. And I really, really believed it. And it wasn't until I started to really believe that, you know what, actually a fucking good person.
What happened for you to go there? How did that change?
How did it change? My behaviour stopped.
The addiction
that stopped.
What helped? Do you mind me asking you what helped you to stop that?
The addiction side of it. Loneliness. I had a bit of a spiritual experience inside in a cell one night after being arrested again, and I was just crawling around the floor I hadn't seen my kids for Christmas. It was 26th of December. Nicole had a protection order on me. I was left near the house because she was protecting the kids.
Yeah, of course.
And I was completely destroyed, 100%. She was their protector, and she's my saviour. She's my fucking guardian angel. I'm still here. I'm still alive because of her, because she gave me, I would have never, and I'm going to just clarify this, never, and I mean ever, gave up alcohol and drugs for me. I didn't. No. I didn't feel I was worthy.
Yeah. Well, they were a response to not feeling that worthy, you know, not caring about yourself.
But when she never gave up, just never gave up on me, even I done some terrible fucking shit to her. You know, she still didn't give up on me. And it was that night, it was like, this voice just came into my head, and just, what the fuck are you doing, man? It's Christmas Eve.
Yeah, you're just...
This just came from nowhere. It was just, I don't even know what it was. It was just
it was Christmas Eve, was it?
It was in Stephen's Day. I didn't see anyway. Right. I was on a bender for a few days at this stage, and I was trying to get more money, and I fucked up again. And I got up off the floor, and I jumped up on a concrete slab inside the cell in the Bible, and I cried myself to sleep. And I got out the following night, and I went up to her, and I'd made a decision that I was done. I went to my doctor the following day, and he put me on medication for depression. I was depressed anyway. I was only drinking and drugging, and I got a pre-treatment course from Table Lodge, and I was able to work with a counsellor in her house below and talk about what was going on for me. And this was the first time I'd spoke to anybody about my childhood, you know, about the stuff. Yeah. You know, and from there then, I started to I won't say from the beginning I started to grow, because I had no fucking clue. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I felt. It started to really change for me in the last 5-6 years, where I started connecting to myself emotionally. I started to
validate what you felt.
Exactly. And going with it and feeling it and sitting with it. I ran from everything all my life. Any form of responsibility or difficulty
or emotion, I
was gone. Because I didn't want to feel it. We had learned to
turn it off,
escape from it all our lives.
And which is amazing, because I was sitting here and just sharing this space, I can tell even before we started talking what an emotional person you are.
I'm fucking
it's brilliant. It's
absolutely
brilliant.
Which is why he's so good at what he does.
I know, it's amazing.
Sometimes I do have to try to, depending on the stage, I can fucking start crying.
Yeah, it's okay.
Listening to somebody's
story. I felt that a second ago.
Do you know, I can really get quite emotional with animals.
Or an ad on TV or what, something sparks
the
it.
Bernardo ad still.
It's absolutely myself as well.
The Bernardo ad with the child and it's sitting in the stairs fucking.
Yeah, he sends you over the.
It does. It's like I completely relate to how it feels for a child like that.
Be isolated.
Do you know, and lonely. In a dark house. Cold house, no food. And I can relate to that. And again, just let me clarify this. This is no reflection of
but that's just how things were.
People in my life as a child. It's just how it was. Listen, if it could have been a completely different story if I was
But you wouldn't be the dude you are today, you see?
No, I wouldn't.
That's
right.
And do you know when you reach a place in your life
and you accept that,
you actually look at your the stuff that did happen to you in your childhood and your adult life as a positive thing instead of a negative. I think that's
it's a freeing moment. It's very healing.
It's absolutely powerful. And you know, we were talking about maybe there was addiction in your own, like we're talking about the 80s, Richard. What was that like for you? Because there's a lot of shame around addiction.
It was a secret. But families are so secretive anyway. Families are the most secretive little unit you'll ever exist in. They're also the most complicated family system you'll ever exist in. Families are so complicated. But I tell you, on that one, I remember I was a teenager, like 15 or whatever, and my mood was very low. My mom said, my dad wouldn't have noticed, but my mom said, "Do you want to go see the psychiatrist, right?" And I said, "Yeah, look, I think I'd like to talk to someone." The idea also of talking to someone seemed pretty decent, because I had a lot of things going on in my head. And we were sitting in the waiting room, and my mom leaned into me just before. And there was a priest. Actually, I was laughing at that. There was a priest sitting in the waiting room, and I was thinking, what the hell is wrong with him?
Isn't that interesting?
Little did I know, right? I was like, surely they've got it made. You know? What's his problem? And that was my 15-year-old brain. That was before everything started to come out. Like, and anyway, so just before the secretary said, you know, whatever, doctor, someone will see you now. My mom leaned into me and said, don't tell him about Dad. You know, he knows Dad. I was like, what the fuck am I going to tell him? It's like
silence.
You know when you're doing your communion and you're like, I kicked my brother. You're making up stuff like just to kind of get through the sins that you've committed.
The first confession.
Yeah, you're making up your sins. I cursed. So I went in, and the first thing the doctor said to me was, "Your dad's a great writer." And I was like, "Oh shit!" And I remember sitting there thinking, I'm going to do something with this. I'm going to change this. I'm going to be I'm going to do. I remember thinking that moment. I always wanted to be John Lennon, and then I was thinking, oh shit, I'm not going to be John Lennon. I'm going to be someone who helps people. You know what I mean? Damn it! I wanted to be like writing I Am the Walrus. You know, but and it was such a claustrophobic. It was such a straitjacket. I didn't tell him anything. I was just making up stuff, and so families are so secretive. And I often said to my mom after that, you know, I never blamed her for it. I was like, what was that? What was that? She's like, it's just secret. Like, I wanted to keep the secret. You know, I didn't want anyone to know what we were going through. And I was like, I totally get it. The family is such a secretive thing.
Yeah.
And that's it. And in the 80s, it was a secret. No one outside saw it.
Do you think it's different today?
I think we're more aware about the impact of alcohol, you know, and I think we're probably getting better at alcohol. Something I've written an awful lot about is the advertising about alcohol. I think I remember it was probably 2011 or whatever it was in the Heineken Cup. And all the kids were in, like, you know, and there was Heineken. I was like, this is like George Orwell. Like, you know, the kids were sitting there with their Heineken advertising and Heineken and Guinness Heineken. I mean, it's nuts. Like, we're just like, we're desensitizing, we're normalizing alcohol as that's a safe drug. You know, that's a safe narcotic.
It's so true.
It is, yeah.
It's so accepted, so much more acceptable.
It's so accepted. And I said, when I was teaching kids in school, I'd say, imagine if it was called the heroin cup. You know, instead of the Heineken Cup, they were like, oh, fuck that. But alcohol does more damage.
Yeah.
You know, I said heroin will get you quicker and destroy your life quicker. But as an average of a species, I said alcohol has done more damage. Like, you know, day in, day out. I said, just go to Table Lodge, go to freaking, you know, go to Ashery, go to anywhere, and you'll see what's happening to families and how wiped out are they. How they are. And I suppose I wrote the book Homes Where the Start Is, and I tell my own story about coming up with addiction and all that kind of stuff. And what was really, you know, when that book came out, I got nervous when it was published, and I was like, my dad's still alive.
You would.
I was really nervous. My mom is alive, my brother's alive. I asked them all permission, first of all, and I got really nervous. But the amount of emails that came in to say that was my childhood, my childhood. It was just like of emails. Yeah, it was really powerful. I was like, okay, that's why I wrote the freaking book. Yeah. You know, to kind of maybe say, look, you can because the book is a book of hope. You can overcome. Yeah. And we all have to, who doesn't suffer here? We all have stuff that goes on. We all had messy childhoods. Yeah. You know, grass isn't the gateway. Childhoods are the gateway into narcotics and alcohol and all bad maladaptive behaviors. That's a childhood. And so the book was trying to help people with that idea of like, look, we all come from tricky families. Here's how you I overcame it. Yeah. I was like you, Timmy. I talked to myself terribly. Yeah. I thought I was really bad. I had dyslexia. I thought I was stupid. Struggled like that. Got in trouble. I was, you know, difficult and all those kind of things, and messer and all that. Deflect. You wouldn't have thought it if you saw me. If you saw me when I was 12, you think that guy doesn't give a shit about anything. But he was just bending reality, you know, to show that I don't care, but I cared so much. I was pretending I didn't care, kind of thing, you know.
And that's what kids do.
Most people do.
You know, they rebel. I remember when I was around the same age, like school was something. When I went to secondary, I didn't go to secondary. Yeah. That makes sense. I just went on the hop for most of it because I just couldn't cope. You know, and we were you know, the way of 1A, 1B.
C, D, E, F, and all that. We were last.
I mean, that is just so humiliating, isn't it? I mean, you're in the F stream.
Yeah. Labels don't predict the future; they write them.
Right.
You know what I mean, and if you're in a school that says you're the worst here, it's like, I'll show you the worst. That's what you'd say in your head. I'll show you how bad I can be.
We were mad.
Yeah,
we were mad. And a lot of the lads that were in my class, you know, a lot of us, we went down the wrong path in life as well. But there was this one teacher inside my classroom, and bless her soul, like, she was fucking dope.
Yeah.
But because I think we took complete advantage of that, because she was the one teacher to come in and she'd bring in chocolate bars for whoever was the best in the class. But we broke her heart. Her handbag was robbed in the classroom. The lights were broke, and there was so much shit to her. And I actually met her in the supermarket.
Oh, did you? The other day?
Yeah. And I just went up to her. I said, "This is a great opportunity."
I hope you bought her a box of chocolates.
I didn't. I just apologised to her.
Yeah.
I just said, if I...
Did she recognise you and all the rest?
She knew me straight away.
It's mad, isn't it? Though, that is powerful stuff.
It was just, when you walk up to somebody and there's fear around doing the right thing, but you still have to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I just said, listen, I know, we were a handful.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. But sorry,
she got it.
She just got it. She just got it, and she actually opened up to me about a few things that were going on in her own life then. It's amazing. This is at the tills, no one's like fucking little. You know what I mean?
Place your thing in the basket.
But it was powerful, and what my point is as human beings, we grow. Yeah. We grow on time.
We do, but that child is always in there.
It is, and we heal it.
Yeah.
You
learn to talk to him better, and
you learn to talk to him better. You learn to love him.
Yeah, absolutely. Compassion for him. Yeah. It's amazing because, in my work, I'm working with teenagers all the time and families, and I'm doing psychotherapy and all that stuff all the time, and writing books and all that. But in 2020, I write for the Examiner, and I never said it publicly that I had dyslexia, and I was hiding it all my life. I was teaching English and writing and all the rest of it, and I never said it to anyone that I had dyslexia as a kid. And I said, "Fuck, you know what? I'm sick of fucking hiding this thing. Maybe I could," because my profile was big enough that if I shared it, it could go out there, And so I said, "Fuck this! It might help someone if a kid's sitting in there, it might help them." Because I work with so many kids with dyslexia, but I never said, "Oh yeah, I have it too." I'd help them with their thinking, but I never said, "Yeah, well, you know what?" So I wrote the article, and I named my 5th class teacher, who was the first teacher to see it. I'll never, Bridget O'Grady, and I always talk about her since then. And this was in 2021, and she was the first teacher to say to me, "You're very smart, and you have dyslexia too." And I was like, "Can you tell my parents?" I remember. Can you please tell them?
Good.
Can you tell them? Can you tell my parents?
When did you become the ambassador for
After
Dyslexia Association?
When that article came out, it got a massive traction and a big. And the next day, I was coming to my clinic, and it was in the morning, and I checked my emails, and Bridget wrote me an email. Oh. And I just got goosebumps as I said it. And she said to me, "Richard, I remember you well." Now I could start crying here now, Timmy. Right? She said, "I remember you well." She said, "You were a beautiful little boy." I was fucking gone.
Don't get me
emotional. I was bawling, crying. I was unconsolable for about an hour, and it was all that emotion that 10-year-old kid felt. Oh my Christ! I was in the skin of him. I was right there, feeling all of that stuff, that I'm stupid, I'm not that good. And then what really got me, she said, "You were a beautiful boy." I was like, I never saw myself like that. I never saw myself as anything worthy or valuable at that age. I was wild. I was fucking good crack to be around, but I never saw myself as, anything.
And you just hear this so often. Yeah. I was the joker, I was the player, I was the one. I was always getting in trouble.
That you create for yourself. Yeah.
Just deflect.
Our role in your life, you didn't see it at the time, but when we look back at the different people,
that shape it.
They actually had such an impact.
Just those few Someone from outside your family system who saw you. Yeah. It's like, geez, that's powerful.
That's amazing.
And saw something positive in you. And I go, wow.
But nowadays, you've a documentary out.
Yeah, we're doing Raised by the Village every Sunday now for the next 4 weeks. We're bringing teenagers from, say, different areas of Ireland, like urban kind of areas, who may be struggling a little bit in their, say, families, going to school or with technology, the big problem, technology. Yeah. And so we take them off their technology and put them down the country into farm. It's great crack.
So they're not allowed any phones?
No
phone.
Are
the applications still open at the moment?
No, it's... Next summer. He could do with it. I have a daughter myself who could do with it. But so it's just great though, and it's funny because one of them bought a burner phone,
No way.
Yeah. It's like a scene from The Wire.
My fella said he wouldn't be seen dead with one of them. He said, "I'll never talk to you again if you buy me one of those phones." He says to me the other day. He says, "Never."
But it's the big problem.
And how are they coping? Like what?
They're honestly, Georgie, after the first day, they're a bit anxious about the technology.
Yeah.
The first thing they said to me is, "I slept so well last night. It's brilliant."
Isn't that interesting?
Sure, sleep is it's everything. Like, if you could cure one thing, if we all got a good night's sleep,
imagine
better.
The impact of the phone buzzing are beeping.
Notifications. Infinite scroll has been the most disastrous thing for all of us. Infinite scroll. The guy who invented it actually regrets having invented it.
Really?
Yeah, be sure it's just consuming you.
I'm not surprised.
It's designed to pull you. I mean,
was he the guy who worked? He wasn't on Johan Harry's book,
I
Stolen Focus.
I don't know, yeah.
He wrote a book around the exact same thing around how...
There's a lot of whistleblowers coming out, having been involved in it.
And they were all these geniuses,
psychologists,
techie guys, and psychologists. It's like they worked for all the tech companies.
Yeah.
How to pull people's gaze in.
To make it look like sweeties, like the colours and the sparkles.
They want you to go out and go back in again because they're selling, every time your gaze goes out and in, they're selling that. That's what the revenue is. Whoa. You going out and in. So that's what's dangerous about it.
It's like the beep, it's like the vibration.
Sure, like the like button.
Bing.
Yeah, the like button.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
notification.
When we hear a bing nose, like
your brain fires, thinking something's happening. Yeah.
We this is what Cyber Safe Kids. You've spoken with my sister Alex, and we go into schools and we teach them.
I love the work they do.
Yeah, they're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. They're a charity as well. But
I know, it's brilliant.
And we try and teach the kids to look out for exactly these things.
Yeah.
You can turn these mechanisms off. You can go into settings. This is all stuff that you can control. You are responsible. And they're so shocked. They don't know.
But they're so powerful.
They are so powerful.
But do kids want that? Like, they're addicted to the dopamine hit as well.
Yeah, they are.
Like, do they want that? Do like, if they knew that, like, if I said it to Jay, he'd still be checking his phone.
Yeah, he would. It's too powerful.
Do you know they do ask a lot of questions. Like, obviously they want to be on social media. They want to be.
I don't think they want to be on it as much as they are on it. I don't think they want to be on it all night long.
I think that's right.
I work with it massively, clinically speaking.
Yeah.
They know they have a problem with it. They want to get off it, but it's so fucking powerful. It's too powerful for them just to get it off it. And then there's all the other aspects of it as well, like exclusion. It's a huge problem.
It's terrible.
It's brutal.
And the bullying, that's part of cyberbullying, is exclusion from groups. Bandwagoning. So if you like, someone writes a nasty comment,
and then they all jump on and like it.
Yeah, and you like it. You didn't say anything, but you like it.
See the exclusion part of that, Georgie.
Yeah.
Right. So when we were kids,
you never saw it.
You could be excluded as a football team.
Yeah, but you wouldn't even know it. But you know what I mean? If you went down with the lads and we were in a friendship group and you went down playing football and you didn't invite me, I wouldn't know about it. No, but now you see it on like Snapchat. You'd send a picture of you kicking the ball, having a great crack, and I'm at home thinking, why have, like, if I'm a girl, they're all down Starbucks having a coffee, and you're like, fucking hell. It's brutal because the same part of the brain fires. The dorsal portion of the anterior cingulate cortex is a part of the brain that tells you if I hit my hand with a hammer, that part signals hurt, right? God, and so the same part fires if you're excluded, because when we were starting off as Homo sapiens, to be outside your outside your tribe would have meant certain death. So it hijacked the signal for pain to get back. It was to keep you alive. Yeah. So to get back inside your tribe, and so when you're a teenage girl at home, and they're all down wherever it is, and they send an image, that's going to physically hurt you.
How the fuck do they cope? Something like that.
It's brutal.
When they can't.
That's brutal.
Understand how
it's like, and really young kids. I mean, I heard of an incident not far from here. Primary school girl sending a nude to a lad in the secondary school. She's not.
Oh,
that part of it is,
that's a different kind of.
That's another. The thing is so layered.
That's a completely different podcast again.
Yeah, I know that's a full podcast of itself.
Although we should talk about the petition.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, I launched this petition there before Christmas because I've been writing in the Examiner, I've been on TV, and I've been on every social media platform or TV you can think of, or whatever media. I've been talking about this, and nothing is happening. I'm kind of going, how can nothing happen? How can it be, Timmy? Georgie. And today now, if I'm driving in the car with my daughter and I don't put her seatbelt on, the guards stop me, I'll get fined. Yeah. But if my daughter consumes hardcore bestiality or BDSM, no one's to blame for that. There's no responsibility for that. And I'm seeing it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah. So I'm thinking, has to be someone somewhere stopping this at the highest levels that we're bringing in legislation to stop our children consuming it. I'm not a prude. You have to always say that when you're talking about this. What an adult does with their phone and what technology, that's up to them. But there is about a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old consuming hardcore. And see, pornography, this is what I'm trying to tell parents all the time. Pornography today isn't Channel 18 that I grew up with, and the storyboard and all this kind of stuff. All this kind of like soft kind of porn, soft porn. But it's straight into like it's consent taking. It's like choking. It's spitting. It's taking power away from someone.
how does a child's mind even concept?
But they say it's the end of innocence. This is what I'm saying. It's the absolute end of innocence. And the story that I'm seeing massively is like an older cousin coming into the younger family, the brothers, and showing them like an 8-year-old porn. Look at this, thinking he's cool or whatever. And so it's the end of innocence.
Or pop-ups.
Yeah. But it's embedded into all aspects. If you look at any aspect of technology, it's going to come up. It's going to come up in all your social media. It's going to be in there, right? And so it is. I just can't believe. That we have nothing here. There's nothing to stop. And I worked in a school where a senior infant consumed hardcore extreme material. So I can't believe that we're in the situation currently where there's no legislation, there's nothing in here. Once I have this, and my daughter has this, and she picks up my phone at 6, and she puts in whatever P by mistake, whatever, everything is going to come up there for her. So it's just beyond me.
Is there an example? Somewhere globally in some country,
I think they're bringing in different states in America now. They're beginning to act, and Denmark, I think, Belgium maybe has a couple of things in there. But I suppose when I'm talking the government about it, and they're always kind of their idea would be like Europe. We have to kind of be in line with Europe and all that kind of stuff. And so it's like no.
Does that not? Shouldn't we just lead by example or something like that?
I think it has to be. You know what I mean? It has to be. And
why can't we?
I know. Yeah. If there's political will, that's what I try and drum on with the actual petition is to show, because political will comes from like the people. Yeah. If there's enough people saying we want safeguards for our children, you'll get them. You know what I mean? If they were laundering this kind of money, you'd have some legislation there to protect the money. And so there's no desire yet properly. I mean, I saw there's this new media regulator, Jeremy Godfrey, and I was going, at last, right? We've got someone in charge of media, like technology. And I saw his report because he was looking at hardcore material. But at the end of it, he says, it won't be prescriptive. And I'm like going, imagine telling Benson and Hedges that you need to do something about kids smoking, but it's up to you. Or vintners, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it is ridiculous that we're saying it's not prescriptive. It has to be prescriptive.
There has to be some form of
robust legislation
and fines.
Absolutely, because these platforms they don't want less traffic. Yeah. They want more traffic. They don't care who's looking at it.
Yeah.
They just want the eyes in it because that's what they that's what they sell, that's what they monetize. They want people going in.
Do you know that actually fucking? I don't know what the right word to say is. No, upsets me. To see that there's people that actually really don't fucking give a fuck about this. It's like we all have kids.
They don't give it. I mean, they're
they
just see money.
They're generating money.
They're money. That's all it is. They don't give a shit.
Doesn't matter what age.
They're unscrupulous.
So us as parents, right?
Yeah.
Georgie, do you know? Yeah. In general, like, what should we do with our kids? Do we have to just sit them down and talk about the dangers of are we just putting it into our heads by talking about it?
Well, I suppose
even know about it.
No, they will know. I mean, your child is going to consume pornography no matter what happens. This is going to happen, and it's going to be the hardcore stuff, unfortunately. And so it's like, and they're going to get sent images, and they're going to get at this. I mean, it's just technology now. And so what you're trying to do is give them good education, but age appropriate. I mean, I mean, let's be honest. An 8-year-old should not have a smartphone.
Right.
A 10-year-old shouldn't have a smartphone.
Right.
Right. I mean, let's just be honest.
That is the honest truth.
That's the reality. They shouldn't have a smartphone.
And my sister's always saying, normalize. Yeah. Normalize the conversation. Make it age appropriate, but make it so that it's such a normal conversation in the household that you are not scared to come and tell your parents if something has appeared on your phone or your computer.
And this is what I'm saying to parents, Georgie, all the time is, don't use the phone as a parenting tool. Right. So if I'm taking the phone off my child willy-nilly, give me the phone, you spoke badly to me, the phone's gone. They're never going to come to you if there's an issue. If there's a serious issue, they're thinking, I'm going to take my fucking phone off completely. You know what I mean?
Not telling them,
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, and I say to parents, don't use it as a parenting tool. What I say to my own daughter is, look, you're going to consume some stuff here that you might want to see. I hope you come to me about it. We won't judge you, right? I won't take the phone off you, right? That's not going to happen. And so that she has that in her head. So if she's in a tight position, I hope, as much as you can hope as a parent, I've given her the messaging, we're here to support you, we won't judge you, and we won't take the phone off you, because that's their lifeline.
But what you're doing is you're continuing with the conversation.
You're keeping the conversation going. You're like,
exactly.
And that we won't overreact to something.
Is it, like, between men and women, is it more is it more boys than girls than
pornography?
Girls?
The stats would be that boys there was a huge thing out there recently. The SRI came up with a massive thing there to say boys consume pornography 64% more than girls, and girls are done, I think, what was it, 14% or something. I don't know about that. I would say that data is probably skewed a little bit because of social desirability.
Possibly, but I suppose the shocking thing about it is the percentage of boys who, when they see the porn, think that is what sex is. That is what should be going on in their lives.
But you know what the data found on that as well, which is really important. The data found that they're less happy in their lives after consuming hardcore extreme material for a long time.
It upsets them.
It just, but the intimacy,
Intimacy
is such, and that's why I talk about it and I get emotional about it, because I sit with couples and I see the damage that pornography does in the couple, and there's no intimacy left. Intimacy is a healing, restart, powerful. I mean, think about when you're intimate with your partner, you feel so connected to the world. When someone loves you, you know what I mean, and you feel like really close with somebody. You've got oxytocin flying, in your brain. You've got dopamine going. You've got all these beautiful hormones flying around in your brain, and you feel connected. And it's like, okay. And so if you're letting pornography in, think about what pornography is. It's a silent, secretive act on your own. You're isolated. I mean, it's addictive. It's going to change the brain structures, structures in the brain. Yeah. And the more extreme stuff, this is the thing I would see, the more the dopamine, if we're talking about that, the more extreme the image, the more dopamine. And then so it takes more extreme, it can bring you down into some really dark places.
Yeah.
And it's like, Boye in the Anna Kriegel case consumed bestiality and BDSM. Right? I mean, we know that this disturbs thinking, but it also, it does propagate the idea that girls are on feeling and kind of like a sexual desire thing for a boy, and it gives boys the idea, like you said there, Georgie, that's sex, and you're like, no, that is not intimacy, that's acting, and that's why I say to teenagers all the time, because they do at times have heightened sense of injustice, and I say that is actually sex trafficking. It sells that industry.
Go on. I was just going to say, it's so interesting because when I go into secondary schools and I give talks on cybersafe kids, and we talk about, I put the contents up on the board about what we're going to, and there's one that says sexting and one that says pornography, and this quite rowdy group that might have started, silence.
By the end of it,
and then you get to the sexting and pornography thing, and I say, listen, particularly to the guys, what you're watching in pornography, and that you can see all the eyes going, I'm not watching pornography, but what you're watching pornography, that is, some of that is illegal because it's sex slavery. It
drives the sex trafficking industry.
Exactly, and I also, that is not what real life sex should be or is.
That's not intimacy.
And that's
total silence.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's important silence.
That's why a lot of some men don't watch porn because when they look at it, it's like, who the fuck? You don't know what's happening to some of these girls here. And this, some of these girls here might be they might
trafficked into it.
Yeah.
No, that is actually. I've done work with like Ruama, who work at this area in a really deep level, and I've worked with Women's Aid, and I've met women who've been sex trafficked into Ireland and all that kind of stuff, and their story is always the same. The guys who came to them were guys who were trying to act out something they'd seen in pornography, so it drives the whole thing. So it like separates, it isolates. I've been with people like where their family has fallen apart, where the woman's come to me saying she had to leave the husband. He was masturbating out in the car, and the relationship was just gone completely. I mean, he's addicted into pornography. I've worked with teenage boys who've come to me because they hear me talking about it, and they come to me to say, how do I get off this thing? Because it's like really consuming me. It's so
I'm
sad.
addicted. Yeah.
And what has been the relationship between some of these young men and their girlfriends in relation to how they understand sex? Are they actually physically hurting some of these women because of what some
Well, the case studies I would see in my clinic would be that intimacy between the partner, and this could be young couples now just married, intimacy between them has stopped, and they're coming in for a conversation about why has intimacy stopped at such a young age, and it comes out then through the conversations, and when they get more comfortable, generally the guy gets more comfortable talking about it, he might say, I'm caught in fucking pornography here.
And he's expecting the same from his wife.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's like it's like a pint of Heineken and like a seriously strong narcotic. Which one are you going to go to? And it's like the pornography satiates the kind of like this incredible. So the wife is now dull. Intimacy is dull, and it's like that's such an important thing. I mean, it's so isolating. And that's why I'm so passionate about it.
I actually never looked at it in that way, how it's actually stealing the actual love and connectionness of relationships.
That's it. That's exactly it. It's stealing love and it's stealing intimacy, and it's stealing the relationship, and someone's so isolated and so shameful. There's the cycle of the behaviour. They're so shameful about what they're doing. They do it, then they lean, when they feel so bad about themselves, they lean more into it.
But and it's similar to what some social it is. But we also, one of the things we do with the girls in secondary as well is talk about filters and just say, like we compare what they look like in real life and what they look like on these amazing filters, and that they send them to boys, so they have these filtered lives that the boys get, and then I said, what are you going to do when you meet them in the offline world? You should be happy with what you look like and how you appear.
They're not.
But they're so obsessed with what they think they should look like.
I think that's more or less general society though today.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
I think
men
it's
and women
comparison, like
it's through social media. It just comes down to social media.
Made worse.
There's a certain way to look,
yeah.
and there's not a certain way to look, and we're leaning more towards the way to look like these women with big boobs, big asses, the lips done, the whole lot. Whereas at the end of the day, if somebody put the same amount of money that they put into working on their bodies into maybe therapy, they would start to understand that there's nothing wrong with them.
And it does, but it's the social construction around aesthetics. Like it's like we give this idea that like small is good, and that thin is good. And so I mean, in the Philippines, let's say where I work, actually having weight is good, because weight means that you can afford food. Like,
same in Africa.
So it's a culture. It's a cultural thing here in the West where we have, let's say, generally enough money, and it's terrible ideas, and social media is driving it massively. I mean, I see it because I work a lot with teenage girls, and they come in and they're talking about the smallest aspect of their face. You kind of go, Jesus, what a thief of their joy. They say, I like this nostril, but I don't like this one. I'm like, what the heck? I've never seen this before, And they're like, but I think my eyelashes are a bit gappy. And I'm like, Jesus, your eyelashes. I never even thought I had eyelashes growing up as a kid. You know what I mean? I never thought about my ears or my teeth or my eyebrows, but they're looking at every tiny little, and that's not perfect. And it's such a rob of this massive miracle that they have. I'm sitting here looking at them, and I have the odds of what it is for them to be there, 400 quadrillion to the power of 150,000. I mean, that's magic. It's almost zero, this thing that they have. And they're sitting there thinking, I don't like this earlobe. And you're kind of going, Jesus Christ.
How do you work with someone like that, Richard?
I'm trying to unpack the whole social construction around aesthetics.
And do they actually end up getting it?
I mean, it's a powerful thing, I'm trying to. It's huge, but I'm trying to figure out. And I'd say to them, if I met you when you were 6, would you be going on to me about your eyelashes, or? No. And they're like, no, not at all. And it's like, so where did it happen? Generally, going to secondary school, someone said to them about your ears, or some girl said something about you being a whale, or you've been this or been that, right? Someone says something, and then they internalize it. And then they start talking to themselves. I'm not that pretty. I'm not that nice. I'm not that beautiful. People don't like me. I'm not. And so then it's a voice. It's a cognitive distortion, but it's up there, and they're talking to themselves. So what you're trying to do is rewire that little bit of thinking and just try to kind of disrupt it a little bit. Give them an alternative way of looking at it, and it's hard. Because you're fighting a whole culture.
I think there was a touch of that when we were growing. Like we all had. I mean, growing up as a girl, I had braces and spots, and you all have that. Oh God, but I think it's just so much harder.
I never thought about a 6-pack. Did you? You might have done. You look stronger than I am, but I never thought like get the fucking 6-pack together. That wasn't that was certainly nothing in the early 90s. Macros and micros, never heard of them.
Yeah,
just had my dinner because I was hungry. Bacon and cabbage, delicious. I wasn't thinking, Jesus, I wonder how many calories are in that.
I know.
That never happened.
No. Just, like, the
bacon and cabbage, go for it.
But like for me, it was always important that I was able to physically do things.
Yeah.
Because I love playing soccer. I love playing soccer. I go to the gym today because I love what it helps.
It's good for your health.
I love it. I go over there trying to headphones and I just train hard, and I love the way I train because it's a great exercise session with me. I feel fantastic. I feel like
you're getting the all natural hit there.
I feel like I've accomplished something really good for my body then for the day.
It's brilliant.
Whereas if I don't go, it's not that I give myself up or anything like that. I don't go, but I prefer to go instead of not going. I know that it helps me.
It's good for you.
It helps me to stay on track with my food.
Yeah. The more you go to the gym, the less you're going to eat that donut or whatever. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
seriously,
because you can't do one without the other.
Absolutely.
Like if I'm eating healthy, I'm going to the gym. If I'm not going to the gym, I'm not eating healthy.
But I think what's happened where I see it, and I do a lot of work with kids who are stuck really in anorexia and all that. Is like families are they learn it very early from their parents, you know, and there's like calorie counting and there's all this going on in the fridge, and they learn really that food is, you know, something to be really careful of. It's like, you want kids to like train, you want them to be healthy, but you want them to enjoy their food too, and like, you know, really enjoy eating and going out for a meal and all that. And so, and then on social media, Jesus, if you put in anything about your diet on Instagram or whatever, TikTok in particular, I did a thing with Primetime there recently. It's coming out in about 2 weeks, where they set up a kind of fake accounts, and they just showed what happens when you look at one video, and it's unbelievable.
Oh, it is mad. I was looking at something about someone who'd lost, 4 stone in 4 months. Like, oh, great, how can I do that? Next thing I know, I've got like 15,000, diet things and yoga.
And how to live with 300 calories a day.
I'm like, whoa.
I mean, it is suggesting purging, and it's suggesting anorexia. I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And they showed another kid looking at, a video about something being depressing, whatever, and all of a sudden they're talking about suicide. And
God.
It is so, it is dystopia what's going on there, you know.
And bigorexia is this thing that's affecting boys, and because they're trying to achieve what you're doing, but you're doing yours in a healthy way. You're building
yourself, and it's good for you. They're doing it in a way, possibly at times, maybe taking chemicals to kind of
obsessing.
Because it's not easy to build muscle like
No, it's not. But if it's consistent, and the food is right, you can build muscle very, very easily.
Because that's healthy. It's a healthy approach.
But there's also this understanding in society with steroids that if you take more, you get bigger. That is so untrue.
Wrong.
It's and I'm hoping to get somebody on very soon to speak about that. It's not about taking more, the bigger you get, because you can get really ill, and you could potentially die from overuse of steroids.
Of course, your heart is expanding. I mean, everything's growing. Your liver's growing, your heart's growing, everything is growing.
And you don't know what
damage that's doing.
No,
you
don't know what's safe and what's not safe. So I'm hoping to get somebody on to talk about that, the bigorexia, and break down if a fella is using steroids, how to use them properly, what to do, and just to give some of the younger men an understanding of
what you can do without them as well.
Exactly,
because
you don't need them.
No, you don't.
Imagine the amount of testosterone they have in their bodies.
I know. Jeez, I remember it well. I remember it. But
you do a small bit of work as well with the Philippines. You've been doing that for a number of years. Do you want to give us
sure. Thanks to me. Yeah, I have a charity called Embrace Badjao. So we work with the Badjao tribe. Yeah. They're the most incredible people you will meet. They live in this really kind of rustic, rudimentary way of life. They're the funniest people. They actually remind me of Cork people. I remember the first time I met them. Honestly, the first time I met them, I remember thinking, fuck it, they're from Cork. They had the funniest sense of humor, right? It's really self-deprecating, but they'd cut you down in a second, you know what I mean? It's really funny. They call me, my nickname now, they have nicknames for you, is Manong, right? Which means old man. When I started there, it was guapo, which means handsome. And then it moved on. I'll tell you a funny one, right? And then it moved on from guapo to Mr. Dangerous. Because on the first month working with them, I picked up one of the kids. They're called Badjao, which means sea gypsy. The fathers swim for pearls. They can hold their breath for over 8-9 minutes. The National Geographic have done documentaries on them. They walk on the seabed, with their spears. Unbelievable. I picked up one of the kids, they were about 6, and threw into the water. And she just sang. I was like, guys, why isn't she swimming? They're like, she doesn't know how to swim, sir. So I jumped in and didn't kill her, obviously. And they were like, you're so dangerous. Then it was Mr. Dangerous. And then I brought 3 of them from the tribe to Ireland with me, and they call me Mr. Everything. Right? So this guy can do everything. Right? And now, unfortunately, it's Manong, old man.
Do you know when you brought them to Ireland? What was their their perception of it?
It was absolutely. They'd never been outside there. They live in a small little compounded kind of way of life, right? They're quite marginalised. And God, even just the traveling was everything's hilarious with them. Everything is the funniest.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Everything is so funny. And the first night when they arrived was actually hilarious. I was in bed and I heard them downstairs rattling around getting stuff, and I came down and they were like, "What's that?" And I was like, "That's the dishwasher." And they were like, "What does that do?" And I was like, "That washes the dishes." And they were like, "Oh my God!" And what's that? And I was like, "That's the tumbling machine." And they're like, "What's that for?" I said, "That's drying the clothes." And they're like, "What's that?" And I said, "That's the washing machine that washes the clothes." And the 3 of them turned around to me and said, so what does your wife do? And I was like, that is the best question I've ever been asked. But they're so funny, you know, and it's an old-fashioned way of life. I know those kids since they were like 7 or 8, and now they were 21 when they were over in Ireland with me. They were there for my daughter's communion, and they're just amazing. It's just amazing. They're like family.
How did you end up doing this? It's
so when I came to Dublin first, I worked in a school called Catholic University School, and I said to the principal, you know, I went in and we were looking at this, and I said to him, I'd love to set up, kind of be a part of some charity, you know, that, because they didn't have one in the school, and he was interested in kind of setting it up. And so I went over to Davao in the Philippines, Southern Island of the Philippines, with this in 2006 with a small little group. And then I built the charity up in the school. It became a huge school activity, the students going over. And then we had I built an alumni trip. All the past pupils went over, and it was just a massive school thing. You know, Brilliant. We raised loads. I mean, we raised huge money over the years. And then when I left the school, my heart was still with the Badjao tribe, because they were the most, you know, they're the most disadvantaged, but they're such brilliant people. I mean, I just love them. They're just so funny. And I set up my own charity then and kept it going, because kind of charity in the school kind of stopped a little bit, particularly over COVID and all that. So I just kept it going myself. And now every year, like last year, I was there 3 times. We built a school in the community, and they're quite they're quite insular. They won't let you in. I've been with them for so long. I'm like, they really, they know me and they kind of respect me. So and I built the school, and we've got like food running out of there. We've got like a medical mission coming out of there. Then we've got education going on in there, and there's like a room upstairs that has TVs for them to just go up and just relax. And
wow,
it's really the needs are massive. Like you know what I mean. There's a lot of malnourishment, so we're trying to feed them at least twice a day. You know, having food coming out of the school, and it's just amazing. Like you know,
they seem to be, even for a group of people, what is the size of their...
it's a great question. It's very hard to know.
Is it?
There's no official, probably about 700 of them. Really? It's very small, that community, very small.
And like for a group of people to be so small and have so little food and materialistic stuff, I'd say they're just happy, because they don't have the worries that we have around the Western world, where it's paying the SB, getting food into the house, paying the mortgage, paying the car, the insurance, the tax, the house insurance.
Yeah.
Like all this.
Oh yeah, when they were with me in Ireland, you know, in 2019, it was hilarious, because I thought they were going to think like, "Geez, your life is brilliant. Like, you know, this is amazing." And they were looking at me kind of going, "Is this how you live?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "No wonder you're grey."
Oh.
They're like, "It's too fast."
Yeah.
Like,
It's
too fast.
You hear that a lot.
You know, in general, do you think it's getting faster?
Yeah, I think so. I think, and more isolated.
Yeah.
And everything's becoming like automated. And you know, you go to Tesco and it's like, pay for your basket. And there's no communication. There's just like, you know, it's all faster. Well, there's no communication between people.
No.
Well, this is but I have to say, I mean, I've come from the UK like 4 years ago, and I find it is so much calmer here than it is in the UK. UK is totally mad. Like with the speed of everything and the crowds and this.
Dublin is particularly fast though as well.
Yeah, you're living in Dublin.
Really fast, you know. I find that when I come to Cork, I like it's a bit slower. But when I go to West Cork, when my parents live down there, it's just like it's like.
Yeah, I feel calmer in this country. Generally.
Dublin is mad. Like Dublin is like I'm running everywhere.
Yeah, we go down to Carsville, down Portmagee or Island in the summer, and it's like when I hit Killarney, I'm starting to
unwind.
And by the time I hit the ring of Kerry, and I come around by Carsville,
special place. Like,
oh my God, it's like I'm down, I'm ready now to relax. I get there, and it's like, fucking hell, why don't they just get away more often?
Yeah,
I know.
It's the stress of the world.
I'm
completely shut off from whatever's going on here in Cork or in my life or work or whatever, and I'm down there and I'm completely caught up in the moment. And then I might go over down to the lighthouse and just sit there and listen to the waves beating off the rocks. Or just look. I can drive up to the old station. It was the old radio station in the island, and it's facing right out into the middle of the ocean.
That's mindfulness right there.
This
you know what I mean?
Absolutely powerful. And it's like when I'm coming back home, it's like, here we go again.
You know? It's like, so you gotta tune into a bit of that and bring it back to your life in Cork.
Yeah.
You know?
I've learned to do that
because it's so important. Because like that's a little holiday every day. You know.
My dream is to end up living my life in not maybe down there, but abroad where I have a bit of sun, where I can grow my own veg, where I can have a few trees, oranges, pears, and a few animals, chickens and stuff,
Lovely,
and make the home very sustainable.
Yeah.
With the photovoltaic panels now, a few rads, just make everything so sustainable that I actually don't need much money
anything.
to live.
Exactly.
You know, that is my dream.
That would be lovely.
And
It's
like,
beautiful.
I don't, because I have this visualization of myself sitting on the porch of, doesn't matter what size the house is, once I can just live in it. Sitting on the porch and just sitting there, relaxing back like this, and just not having anything to do. Not having to answer the phone, answer the email, not having to do anything, and knowing that this time is my time. Just to be. No, I
know. I mean, but that's such an important thing to teach, isn't it?
Yeah,
because our children and teenagers in particular don't know how to be. You know, and technology has disrupted that. Because we're constantly like I make sure, and I love the train. I just love the kind of feeling of the train, the motion going in and out. And I never check my social media before I go to work. I love looking out the window and just thinking that's just being in the world. And I think if you sit on any train today, you'll see teenagers sitting down and they're like on their device, and they're never just being. They can't handle ads. You know, if you show them TV, they're like, oh, get rid of that. Or
it's almost anger-inducing, isn't it?
If an ad comes up, if two of them come up and you have to wait 10 seconds for them to go, they're like, oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, but that's the inability to be at peace. You know, I want the information instantaneously, and that's what they're consuming, and that's what their brains are getting caught in, flux and kind of like disturbed. It's like, no, we need to teach them how to be, you know, and how to be idle, you know, and how to be bored. I think they don't know how to be bored. You know what I mean?
I'm actually running an Easter camp at the moment, and we're doing it in a tent, like an old marquee in the garden, and there's no electricity. It's kind of just natural light, and a lot of the kids have commented on how they love the light that comes through the tent, that they can see things properly, and that they find it really calming. And we did some stuff on syllables this morning, and you know, we went on a walk and they had to find things that, you know, if you found a gate, how many syllables in a gate? If you found a butterfly, how many syllables? And then came back and we made some marshmallow towers, you know, the ones with spaghetti and marshmallow. And they just loved it. Just, hands-on, thinking, natural light, being outdoors. That's just so important for them.
Yeah, at the end of the project, you're dead right, Georgie. At the end of the project, I always sit down with them, we do a little 360 and say, well, what was the best part of the project? Because part of the project is you don't have your technology for the 2 weeks. And they'd say, working with the Badjao, they're amazing, because the kids are just hilarious. I mean, it's just funny. It's the best crack you'll ever have working with the tribe. They're just insane. They're just like they're just great crack.
I can really imagine.
You know, they have the guitar and playing songs and just dancing, and they do their traditional dance and teaching them, and it's just like
lots of giggling.
It's just, I mean, it's just like it's in. You have to be prepared for high octane energy, fun.
They're showing you how to live.
Exactly, and they're so open and warm, and they're just so connected to you. I mean, it's incredible. And at the end, so the kids said to me, "Oh, we're working with the Badjaos. That is it." And then I'd say, after that, what else? And they'd say, "No technology."
Isn't that interesting?
Just being.
George came into my head, and I probably should say this to myself as well. Where do you get all the time?
Me? I know.
You do so much. Like, you're a columnist for the Irish Examiner. You write books. You do so much for different charities. You're ambassador.
He's got a full-time job.
Yeah. I know. It is really busy.
Is it a job in itself? The structure out your time?
But I'm kind of good at like just managing, like compartmentalizing things. So the Examiner article is like, I work a lot early in the morning. I'm working on a book at the moment, and so I'd write at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm an early riser, like, you know, and I like to, I kind of get like a lot done. When I wrote the last book, you wouldn't even, if you were living here, you wouldn't even go, where'd the book come from? You know, where's that? And I was like, I wrote that every morning. And I'm fast when I do things. I like to do things quickly. So I kind of like, you know, I'm, you know, definitely self-diagnosed ADHD, which is great. 100%. My wife was always saying to me, Jesus. And, but it's like hyper-focus.
That is I can see that.
I can hyper focus on something for a while and really.
Doesn't that have to be something that you enjoy doing?
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't. If you give me something I didn't like, you'd never get anything out of me. No.
You enjoy actually doing.
I like being busy. Yeah. I love the charity. That's a massive passion. I love the charity. It's like just one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life. I love writing. It's a passion of mine. Writing. I never sit down to write and think, It's like therapeutic. I love the column because I feel so privileged to have like a platform to talk to people. I love that. I do like a bit of TV and all that kind of stuff. That, I mean, I find that kind of interesting to go in and talk, because I do feel like I have something to say for my clinical work.
100%.
And maybe to help people unpack some of the stuff that they're dealing with. It's in a generalized way, but I think it can be helpful, and all that.
But I think somebody that has a background in psychotherapy or psychology, it would be very important to television.
I like it. I enjoy it. I do. I really enjoy that kind of part of it. And then I have the clinic, and I run the clinic and all that. And so I enjoy all of it. There's nothing at times it can get a bit, too busy.
What do you do to switch off then?
I just love being with the kids. I've got 3 daughters. To me, I'm a simple pleasure man. My wife won't believe me when I say that, but like being at home watching something with the kids on TV. To me, that's it.
That's powerful.
Let the fire on.
Chilling.
Fire on. Fire for me is clear. Honestly, fire. I couldn't have a fake fire. Real fire, wood fire. Fire on. The kids next to me watching something on TV. That's, to me, is paradise.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And I will be 100% honest with you here. That is paradise to me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing I want more. Yeah.
It's just sitting there knowing that if they're in their own rooms,
they're there, they're happy, they're warm.
I'm here with the ball and the dog is up on top of my
Gonna
neck,
get some food together.
And a bit of food.
Dogs can bring a lot of pleasure
a lot
too.
Of Norries, no one give me shit over this, but like we drag out the occasional cheese board with them.
Jesus.
I probably shouldn't have said that now because I get a fair
You're on your own there, Timmy.
Stream of comments.
But I actually
or a cheese board would be like, fruit and nut.
Olives.
I like the different cheeses.
And
the crackers and the different chutneys and stuff.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, you Timmy.
You sure you're not living in Rochestown there?
But you should try it sometime. Oh God, I'm trying to sell it now. But it's amazing.
But honestly, that is for me the best thing. Like I love going on a holiday too with the kids and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's head wrecking. I'm not saying it's idyllic all the time. It's head wrecking at times. But like I just it's just a simple thing. Putting the kids to bed. I really enjoy that. My wife thinks I'm balmy sometimes, but I can see it, and I can see her too. She's amazing as a parent. She's lifted me up, like you were saying about your own wife. I mean, she always saw better in me than I ever saw myself. You know what I mean? And I always try.
That's part of it, isn't it?
I'm trying to be the person that I think she thinks I am. I don't know if I believe that I am that person sometimes.
I can see what she sees. Though.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So I try to meet what she sees in me. At times. But and she was. Really
can
positive.
be hard for people that have had difficult backgrounds.
Yeah.
As well
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, it is.
Because we never really stop.
No.
And look at the things we've accomplished in life. We just continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just keep going. It's like we don't say
next.
Fucking hell, well done, you actually got through. You've done so well coming from an area of life like that. And
well, there's a type of resilience, I think.
Yeah, resourcefulness as well.
Yes, that you get from that kind of childhood, upbringing. That I think others don't necessarily have.
Yeah.
I always relied on myself very early on. I just knew I kind of like to rely on myself, and I was very resourceful, and I could kind of do anything, as a kid. And when my last daughter, Sophie was born, she was sick, right? She was quite sick, and it was kind of like she mightn't make kind of sick, And so when she was born, she was 2 pounds 6 ounces. She was tiny.
My heavens!
And so we were in like intensive care for like 3 months, so we weren't able to touch her for nearly 3. They did a little thing called kangaroo care, where they could put her on you, but then you'd have to put her back into the incubator. So she did rare condition. And I remember sitting there when the doctor was telling us, and it was one of the worst. It was probably the worst moment of my life. And the doctor was telling us what to expect and what not to expect, because they were kind of saying this won't be viable. I remember sitting there going, "Thank fucking Christ for my childhood," because I remember thinking, I think I can manage this as much as I can. I think I can fucking manage this. Yeah, I think I can manage this. I've been through some stuff, and I think I can manage this.
But I only understood that after I read the boy called it, the child called it,
right?
David Peltzer, who had this very traumatic childhood, but he talks a lot about this. Is that it's a resilience. You've got it as well. This resilience that makes
immunized. You're immunized, like a vaccine. You've got a little bit of an immune. If you're going out there and you've got no immunization, if you've got none of the germs in you, you're going to collapse the minute you meet it. A virus, you're going to collapse. But if you've got a little bit of it in you, or maybe a lot of it in you, when you meet it, you're like, no, I don't think so. No, thank you.
It's like there's 3 steps to it, and this is my understanding that you go through it, the tough times as a child, okay. And usually when times have been that difficult, a lot of people do get caught up in some form of adversity later on in life, addiction and stuff.
The compulsion to repeat.
You know, and it's like if you can survive that and
get your
come
thinking
through the
straight,
addiction, and then come out,
then you're powerful.
Then
you got a cloak,
like
no, honestly.
Then you have that.
Then you have that
strength,
like
you know.
Yeah,
and that's when I look at a lot of people that come through stuff like that, myself, and a lot of other people that I know. Like I have some fantastic family members there. My brothers there. Like one of my brothers there, like he had a really difficult time in his life, and like, I'm looking at him and I'm saying, "Fucking hell, the strength of him, the strength of getting through what he had to get through, and now he's back on track and he's really trying to get his life back in order and live his life." I have another brother, Tommy. Then he's 6 years old, and he's like a butterfly floating through life. You know, he just floats through it. Doesn't take anything too serious. Gets on with everybody. Has a beautiful energy about him. Very, I don't know. He's just a lovely person. He's a great storyteller. He'd sit here and he'd tell stories for the night, and I swear to God, I'd probably end up breaking a rib from laughing at him because he's a funny get, you know. And I can see with the two of them, like, that I get a lot of my strength from them as well. Because we grew up in the same home, we share the same kind of energy, and they're there for me. I know that they're there for me, and vice versa. And it's very important for me to have it. But it is true that really tough times do make people stronger.
They do.
And sorry, I want to interrupt you. Like there's this quote. It's like tough times create strong people. Strong people create easy times, and easy times create weak people. It's like a full circle. And then the easy times create the weak people, and weak people create strong people. Do you know, it's such a powerful statement.
It's true. It's good. And what you were saying there to me, as you were saying that, I was like, the amount of people I've sat, you'd be like a great therapist, by the way, to me.
Thank you.
You should think about that, because you have so much insights and so much wisdom there, and there's so much strength in you. I mean, it's so obvious.
He's very calming. Tony and I were talking about this because he's got this real calming.
But there's a real deep wisdom in there too. You know, people will really absorb that. But one of the most powerful things you can say to anybody, you said it there, and I sit with so many people who think they're weak, you know, and they think that they're crumbling under life, and I'd say, you know, when I'd say to them, how strong are you to kind of like be able to manage that experience? And they don't see themselves as strong. The strength you have, just be sitting here, it's incredible. And all of a sudden you see them going, you know, because they might have come in at this thinking they're weak. All of a sudden they're going, maybe I am fucking strong. Maybe I am strong. Like the fact that you're here at all.
Sometimes we need somebody to just tell
say,
us.
that you're strong. And what you've managed there is strength. That's not weakness. That's strength, you know. And it's really important that we say that to people, because it can be such a healing moment for someone.
And and I would say this to anybody that is struggling, like, find somebody that inspires you in your life. Family member, friend, somebody that you can really trust, and somebody that you can go to and tell them what's going on for you, and maybe get a bit of direction. You know, I think
we all need that in our lives,
don't we?
At all stages.
Yeah,
no, that's the reality.
Absolutely.
You know, it's never. It's not like, oh, I'm finished now. I'm the finished product.
Everything's peachy.
You know, we all have little speed bumps there that we whack into. You know, you think, where the hell did that come from? You're a human being. That's where it came from. You know,
and we continue to grow.
Yeah,
and you know this.
Never.
We just keep continuing to grow, and it's like this, and I've mentioned this on numerous occasions, that there's no end to the bottom of this pit of negativity and depression. No end to it. You can keep going down until you hit a place where you probably end up taking your own life because people just can't cope. But there's also no end to growth.
Oh yeah, they both go nearly the same rate.
There's no end to it. We can continue to keep growing and getting stronger and loving ourselves. And that's, for me, the key is looking at myself, looking at what I need to grow, love, and trust myself, trust my own intuition, my confidence, and my ability to even do this on my own. You know, with Georgie and the lads, like, there was fear around that, and just to keep moving in the right direction. Fear is always going to come into our lives.
Yeah,
but
fear is a part of our lives, but it holds so many people back,
It really does.
It does. The fear, the response, the intervention we generally come up for fear is not to reach out. And it's because we have a belief that if I go for it, I won't get it, and that'll be too much of a fall. So I'll stay down here and not go for anything.
Yeah.
But that's the paradox there. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're not succeeding at all. That is the roots of depression as far as I see it, the fear of not reaching out. And I'd always say to people, disturb your universe.
Who was it? Was it Roosevelt who said, "There's nothing to fear but fear itself"?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And it's so true.
It is absolutely. Fear is the most. We come up with all sorts of things for fear. Try to control it, we try to avoid it. We do all sorts of things with it, and it's the most limiting thing. And I think we have a real problem with teenagers at the moment, that they're fearful of failure.
Huge problem. We've got a real resilience issue going on actually in education.
There's no failure. There's no failure here. There's learning. It's like, and you're never going to get everything. And so if you expect your life to go like this, you're going to be so disappointed, because you know what? It's not actually going to go into this. And if it did go like that, how fucking boring would that be? You know what I mean? How boring? It goes. It's what Carl Jung says. It's the circumambulation of the self. It goes around. But if you look at it when you step back at the end of it, it did move.
You know what I mean?
Slowly but surely. Like this,
backwards, forwards, upwards, downwards,
all over the place. And so I'm like, it's not. It's like with Bill Gates. There's no success as a very poor educator. And like, of course it is. You don't really learn from your successes. You learn from all the times you fell short.
Absolutely. The mistakes you made.
You reached out and
not
go, better not do that again. You sit there on a Sunday night, you get flushed thinking, oh shit, I did that. You won't do it again. You know what I mean? And
totally.
So that's what you learn from it. You should be excited about those things. You should be excited that to reach out and go for stuff you won't get it at times. That's part of it. Like that's part of the joy of it.
And we do try and teach resilience in schools. Like it's part of the curriculum, but until they've actually experienced it, they don't really understand. They can repeat it back to you. But
they have to go out there.
You have to point it out and go, that is resilience. What you just did there, what you just told me about, that's brilliant resilience.
And it's just perception.
Yeah.
It's just thinking.
Yeah.
There's no resilient gene. It's just perception. How you think about adversity.
Yeah, it comes from life.
Yeah, it does.
Life experience.
And good. Like someone giving you, that was what you did there. That was really good.
And it helps to have good role models.
Yeah.
Like absolutely. Good, positive thinkers. My parents were real kind of half glass full. We're so very lucky, but there's plenty of half glass empties.
Or there's no glass at all.
Yeah, or no glass at all. Absolutely.
I know a few of those.
Oh, jeez, Richard, it's been absolutely amazing.
Thanks a million, Timmy. Great to meet you both.
Really nice to meet you.
Just before we finish up your book. Where can people get it?
Oh, you get it in all bookshops.
All bookshops.
Yeah, home is where the start is. You can get it on Amazon, but you get it in Eason's and all the rest of it.
And if someone wanted to reach you,
you can contact me through info@therapyinstitute.ie.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're based in Dublin?
Or on Instagram. Official Richard Hogan. I'm based in Dublin. I work on Fitzwilliam Street there.
Listen, thank you so much.
And the petition as well.
Oh yeah,
we can put
go onto my Instagram, and sign the petition, please.
The link is on the petition.
Yeah, brilliant.
So listen, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been a real pleasure.
And I mean that. And listen, it's my first time really having a conversation with you, and I really enjoyed it.
I just want to say that. Same here.
And having Georgie here again. Like, Georgie's an absolute powerhouse when it comes up to education, and she's going to change a lot of people's lives as well with her work.
Well, it's been really. I've really loved talking to you. So thanks so much for finding the time to come here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Listen, it's from another episode from the Long Way Back podcast. I'm Timmy Long, Georgie, and Richard Hogan. Thank you so much, and God bless.